Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Tim and Maggie Talk Movies. Tim here, along with
Maggie. Hello.
Yes, Maggie is here. We're here for a full-on Avengers Endgame spoiler discussion. This is the biggest film of all time.
Based on the box office.
Based on the box office,
is.
We'll see how it does in week 2. But this is probably going to catch Avatar and be the biggest movie of all time. Let's be real. So we are not alone today, though. We have a returning guest, Robert the Hobbit Parker. Robert, hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm lovely. How are you, Maggie?
You're lovely. Fantastic. We've also got Cody Newberry, manager extraordinaire over at Multiplex. Cody, how you doing?
Fantastic. Wish Robert wasn't here, but other than that, this should be a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also from Multiplex, we've got another member of the Beautiful Fellowship. We've got the wonderful Kane McMillan, who's a big MCU fan and is confused about time travel. Kane, how you doing?
Yeah. At least I'm not the only one in the same boat, because apparently like War Machine and Ant-Man had the same issues with me. So
fair enough. Well, yeah, like we said, this is going to be full-on spoilers for Avengers Endgame. We're going to start out by kind of giving our thoughts, our individual thoughts on the movie, and then we'll kind of go through our favorite moments, kind of go through the movie beginning to end, the major stuff in the movie. I think we've all, except Kane, how many times have you only seen it once? Okay, so Kane and Cody, you've each seen it once. Robert's seen it a couple times. Me and Maggie have seen it too many times. But my initial reaction of the movie is that it's awesome. I love this movie. I like it just maybe a smidgen less than Infinity War, and I think the only reason I would maybe put it above Infinity War is because of the payoff at the end of the movie. But I do think Infinity War is a tighter, better movie. But this one is really, really satisfying, and this is a movie that rewards you for being a fan. The bigger the fan you are, the more you are going to get out of this movie. The longer you've been a fan, the more time you've put into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the more you will get out of Endgame. There's just so much to eat up in this movie. But Maggie, now to you.
Yeah, so the first time that I watched it, I was really just kind of shocked, to be completely honest. Like, my expectations were completely destroyed. And not, like, in good and bad ways, but, like, eventually I got over it, the initial shock. And when we saw it the second time, it was just so amazing to just, like, watch it and, like, see all those things again. And just, like Tim said, the payoff is just really good. I would agree that I think Infinity War is definitely the better movie. But because it's just, like, has such a big payoff in that last hour, it is just so amazing. And obviously the stuff before the last hour is also very good. And surprisingly, I've not fallen asleep once, despite the fact that it's 3 hours long, and I've seen it 5 times in like 6 or 7 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into that runtime more, but that runtime is the quickest 3 hours I've ever gone through. Yeah. Robert, what did you think about the film?
It's fine. No, of course, this movie is fantastic. I'm not sure. I still haven't made up my mind about this or Infinity War. By my Letterboxd score, I have Infinity War up, but I think that like Infinity War is a very, very tight story, but I think I like the character moments in this one a little bit better. So there's give and take. Yeah, this movie's fantastic. I've seen it twice now. I've cried many a time. Many tears were shed at many different moments. I actually cried at different moments on the second watch than I did on the first rewatch, which I thought was really strange.
Same thing happened to me.
Yeah, like I didn't think I was going to cry more the second time, but I did. And maybe that's just because I'm an emotional human being. But, people who don't cry at movies maybe are just heartless. So, yeah, I really liked it. Tim's absolutely right. Like, the more that you've been following this franchise, like you shouldn't come into this movie having only seen like 2 MCU movies.
Yeah.
That's not the way to truly appreciate the story that this movie is telling.
Yeah. All right. And Cody, what about you? What'd you think?
I have never been more pleased with a movie in my life. I had expectations. They shattered my expectations, and I was still pleased with the outcome. I didn't cry as much as Robert because he's a little bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't cry as much as Robert, but I cried. I think I'm going to cry more the second time because I am with everybody that's seen it once. It's a lot to take in on the first one. Like you're sitting there, you're like, is it going to continue? Like, I don't know if I'm okay with how this ended. Are we doing this? But it took two of my favorite things, MCU and time travel, and put them together, and it was beautiful. And I think I like this movie better on first watch than Infinity War. Just because maybe I like the payoff more. Because I knew Infinity War there was a second coming. Like I knew that wasn't the ending. So, but I think I wonder how it's going to hold up over multiple watches. Like you guys have been through it 5 times now, so you guys will probably know a little bit more. But I know that first hour was a little slow, but in that theater, like it was slow paced. It didn't feel slow. Like it was just a lot to digest. So I think the overall movie was a perfect runtime. I'm glad they decided to go long instead of short. Because when you're a film studio, you can literally cut a lot of things and make it 2.5 hours and call it normal. But I think I wouldn't cut anything from this movie. That's what.
And I think too, like if you take the first Avengers and they say, okay, let's make this movie 3 hours long, I don't know if as many people would have stayed with it, because the first one, there are even parts to me, and I love that movie. It has now been moved out of my top 5 of the MCU because of this movie. But there are parts of that movie that are slow, and it's at a 2:20. So I think they've earned having this one to be the one that's 3 hours long. But Kane, we haven't heard from you yet. What'd you think of the movie overall?
I'm also like Cody, who's only seen it once, and everyone's like, it was really slow at the beginning, and I never felt that. I actually really enjoyed it because after Infinity War, and just like we're all over the entire universe and the galaxy, just to have these like small character moments, to see like characters interact together for the first time since like at least like Civil War, so like 2016. So to see like these people like just have these small moments together, I thought was very nice and rewarding. So I didn't have any issues with the first act. And I guess to kind of say how much I like this movie, I love this movie 3000.
Oh, breaking my heart. Okay. So we all really liked the movie then, it sounds like. And let's get into that.
Disney can Venmo us at
but let's get into the first act of the movie. So Kane and Cody, you guys have kind of alluded to it already, but most people have complained that the first act is slow. I'm on the side where I do think the first act is a little slow, but again, not slow moving. Like it wasn't like I wasn't enjoying what was happening. I just personally didn't. I like Act 2 and 3 better.
I have a question.
Yes.
So where do you say Act 1 ends and Act 2 begins?
Act 1 ends when they time jump. To me.
New York 2012. New York 2012. That's the beginning of Act 2.
Yeah. Act 2 is all the time travel, and Act 3 is from Hulk snapping to the end.
Okay, because then I would say that Act 1 is not slow, because Act 1 is them finding Thanos and killing him, and it's actually very short. Act 2 is much slower.
You think Act 2 is 5 years later?
Yeah, is that what you're saying? That
No. The time jump where they're all in the quantum and they jump into the
quantum. They go to New York.
Oh, so you're saying that whole part where they go to see Tony is part of Act 1?
Yes.
Oh, okay, no, I understand what you're saying. I just want to clarify what we all considered Act 1.
Are we all in agreement there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Everybody say aye.
My problem is I don't think it's, again, first time viewer. I don't think it's slow, but I think where it ramps, like it does the perfect like build, like it slowly goes where you're going. Act 2 is a lot of fun and a lot of enjoyment, and then Act 3 literally punches you in the face. So like I'm glad they didn't just go from Jump Street. Like if they were just like, because I sat in the theater and as soon as it came up and they killed Thanos, spoiler if you're still watching it, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have been here, but they killed Thanos. And I literally looked at my friend next to me like, it was the same moment in Last Jedi when they killed Snoke. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
let's dig into that whole moment, because the movie opens and I said to Maggie, because we saw it together, and the movie's starting and I was like, okay, so there's the Hawkeye thing, and I'm like, oh, we're starting right here, and then
I cried.
I'm like, when Tony and Nebula get rescued by Captain Marvel after about 2 minutes, I was like, holy shit, I thought that was going to be half the movie. When going into it, I'm like, Tony's going to be stuck in space for half this movie. When he gets back, then him and Cap are going to reunite, and they're going to go to defeat Thanos. And all of that happened in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot faster, but that's what the Russo brothers said when they showed like the trailer. Like nothing you're seeing, pretty much, nothing big talking is going to be more than 15 minutes of the movie, and like, I was really shocked at how fast we went. Like, because at first they're playing like the Hawkeye thing was instant, like freaking.
Maggie called that, by the way.
Yeah, last preview. Congrats. Last preview happened, and like it was there, and I was like, what? Oh, okay, not turn off. Like, it was not for the theater I went to, not turn off your cell phone, nothing. We just went right to Hawkeye. And then they're playing football, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's not so bad. What's going on? Like, are they on like a Guardian ship just chilling? And then you slowly see the progression, and you see Tony's face and like how sickly he looks, and you're like, oh shit. I think that was really well done. Really well done.
What kind of Kane? What kind of reaction did your theater have to like Thanos? No, Thanos. It was so good. We get to his planet, and Thor just comes in. And slices stuff.
So I'm actually gonna jump back a little bit. So the movie starts off with like Hawkeye's family like dying and everything, and these guys like they're in like the first 2 rows, okay, and they're just like freaking out, like, oh my god, they're just absolutely freaking out. And I lean over to my friend like, this is gonna be the entire movie, isn't it? Like it's either good or bad, and it's like it was really obnoxious. I'm like, it's gonna be the entire movie. And then that was the only time they had any reaction was when his family died. But it's like it's kind of like, I mean, you kind of expect that. So.
So every single time that we watched the movie, every time that they like dusted the Hawkeye's family, everyone went, oh! And I was like, literally, if you watched any of the trailers, you knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Turns into a psychopath.
Yeah, well, Meg, you were a couple months ago when the trailer first dropped. You and I were on the phone, and you were like, "Yeah, the second she lets go of that bow, boom, dust immediately." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably."
I'm so smart.
Yeah. To go back to the whole like where Thanos dies, I lean over to my friend. I'm like, "That's the end of the movie, right?"
Yeah, right.
Credits. We were told 3 hours. We're getting like 13 minutes.
Yeah, my boss at work said to me. So I watched the night I watched the movie for the first time. The next morning, she's like, "Spoil the movie for me," and I was like, "You don't want me to do that?" And she's like, "No. Like if I know how it ends, like I'll feel better like going into it. Like it'll just make me feel better because I'll be able to still enjoy it. I'll get to the whatever." She had her reasons. She wanted to know who dies, so I told her, and then she said, "Also, who kills Thanos?" And I said, "Well, Thor, technically at the beginning." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, he gets his head cut off in the first 15 minutes." And she was like, "But it's a 3-hour movie." And I'm like, "Yeah, they fucked us on that one."
I love the idea of that. Like Captain Marvel shows up and they're like, "We're going for Thanos," and they're like, "Okay." So they all like get in there. I like the little things with Rocket was like, who's not been to space before, and like the raising the hand. All right, don't puke on my ship, and then just take off. Then they get to the planet and then they get down there and I'm like, okay, what the fuck's going on? And just to see how Thanos looks and he's walking, I'm like, what is going on? And how Thor just gives him zero like
well, first he cuts off his arm, and then he cuts off his head. So
I think Nebula's line, oh go ahead, sorry.
No.
Nebula's line was like one, because they said the thing was, where are the stones? Because that's one of the main things that kick off of it. He doesn't have any of the Infinity Stones, and you're like, what the hell are you doing? And Nebula goes, the one thing my father isn't. He isn't a liar. And then,
which is a callback to Infinity War.
Yeah.
When he is around Gamora and he's like, "You're ruthless, or you're aggressive. You're a big good warrior, but that's all from me. But I never taught you to lie.
That's why
you're so bad at it. Yeah. I never thought I'd see Thanos retire as an agrarian farmer. Like the first shot we see of him is walking through just picking fruit and putting it in a bag. Like I never thought.
But I mean, but again, going back to the fact that the trailers are only from the first 15 minutes, I did a lot of complaining to Maggie, being like, because Thanos is, I think we can all agree, the best MCU villain.
Yeah,
like I think
not even close. Yeah, he's the best.
Okay, so I was kind of irritated with the marketing. I'm like, I want to see Thanos. What is he doing? I want to see that. That's it. There's a reason. It was so smart of them not to show basically any Thanos at all from past that first 15 minutes. Because if they had, it would have given it away.
You couldn't see the burn marks or anything. Like, they couldn't have showed anything from that first 15. And if you showed it past that, it just gives things away.
Yeah,
so, it was perfect.
But I mean, they did that with multiple characters. They did that with Thor and Hulk. Like, those are major, like, character, like, transformations and those things. They just hit it in the trailers.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing because it made the whole surprise aspect great.
Well, actually, funny enough, not anymore, because we, right before we went on air on YouTube, Marvel posted a, 15-second TV spot that was like, Avengers Endgame is the biggest film in the world, and it literally shows Hulk as he is in the movie twice in the commercial. And I was like, well, everyone in the world has seen the movie.
And it shows Fat Thor too. It shows the shot of the three of them standing on the building after Thor's done the thing, so his hair's all braided, and he has Mjolnir and Stormbreaker in his hand, and yeah, they just are like, whatever. Fuck all of you if you haven't.
1.2 billion. If you haven't seen it, where the hell have you been?
One of my, if we're still talking early in the movie,
let's move to the 5 years plus.
I have one more thing to say before that happens. Actually,
okay.
Sorry. So yeah, before 5 years later, before they actually even go to the garden to go kill Thanos, one of my only complaints with this movie is I don't think Tony's breakdown and getting pissed at Cap, I don't think that's warranted. Because both of them fought Thanos and both of them lost. They didn't do it on the same planet and they didn't do it together, but they both still tried. Saying to Cap, "Oh, I needed you. He was there."
Okay, so hang on. Looks like we all have something to say. I saw Kane go first. I think I'm in agreement with Kane and Cody, and Maggie and Robert are in cahoots. Kane
rip Robert's head off right now.
Okay, so you're saying that he got mad, but at the same because of the whole thing that they both fought, he was on a different planet / interstellar type.
He can't be mad at Cap at that for.
Okay, hang on.
But no, I'm saying that he can't get mad saying that you didn't fight but Tony didn't know that. Tony was on a different planet. How is he supposed to know everyone's fighting in Wakanda?
Cap told him. Cap said, or Tony said, I couldn't stop him. Cap said, neither could I.
So my point here, and then we'll get to Cody's, is this whole movie, the whole thing, and a big point I have with Thor and my feelings on Thor in this movie are very similar to this. This isn't a movie about giant superheroes fighting aliens. This is a movie about people and characters that we've come to love who are human. Most of them are human.
One's a Build-A-Bear.
And they all have human qualities. So naturally, the last time that Tony saw Cap, they were beating the shit out of each other. And the one time he might have to call Cap to find out where Vision is at the beginning of Infinity War, he didn't really want to do it. He was going to, but he didn't really want to do it. So I feel like him having this reaction, I agree. I don't think it's warranted because Tony doesn't have all of the information, but I think it is the correct and natural reaction for the character to have in that moment without all the information. Cody, what do you got?
It's 100% who Tony Stark is. Shocker, Robert doesn't like Tony Stark. The whole viewpoint is they're the Avengers. They're supposed to be a team, and Cap drew the line to divide the team. in Tony's eyes, regardless if you agree with Team Iron Man or Team Cap. They were supposed to do this together. But for the reason that Cap stood his ground, they weren't together for the battle. So for him to be as depleted as he is, and to look at the last time that he looked at him in the face was finding out that the man that he's been defending the entire time killed his mom and dad, to look at him with a straight face and be like, you're right, you did your best in Wakanda. We'll get him next time, pal. That's not who Tony Stark is, and it never will be. So his reaction is 100% warranted because they didn't do it together, which was supposed to be the entire plan.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that I think that, like what you're like, to point out the positives in both of these, I agree 100% with Cody and Kane here. With Robert, what you're saying though, like, I think that had Tony said, hey, come and help me, or if Cap had said, hey, Tony, we should probably do this together, they would have earlier and it would have worked out. But that's the point, is that they didn't.
Yeah.
And that's the drama.
And you can also see from like Tony's perspective, like they were like this close to defeating him on Titan, where if they were all together, they might have been able to do it. Like the entire Avengers.
He realizes how close they honestly were, and if they would have been the Avengers when their time was supposed to, and plus it's not Tony's. Tony is an egomaniac. Like that's the entire point of his until later on. But like it's usually him looking out for himself. Like that's the whole viewpoint. But he to attack Cap is 100% what Tony Stark is. That's why I'm okay with it.
It could also be a thing, like the one thing that like he didn't want to happen is like to lose Peter Parker, and the dude died in his arms. So he's just retaliating on the first person that he's kind of angry at, because like it's hard to be angry at Nebula when you don't even know who she is.
Yeah.
So it's like you see Cap, and it's like he might put some of the blame on him. So I think it makes 100% sense on why he's angry. I think.
Plus, he's going through his failures. He's going through his failures where he's like, if we had a thing protecting the globe like I wanted to, like he was going through everything that he failed with and why Cap also failed. I'm like, no, there's no more us. We didn't do anything. Like I thought it was very powerful, actually. Yeah. I thought Robert Downey Jr. killed that performance.
So I don't know if that our yelling at you guys or just now made you feel any differently, but Maggie, what were you gonna say? You agreed with Robert to begin with, so.
Well, I mean, I get what you guys are saying. It's the same thing where like I don't like what they did with Thor, but like I get why they did it. And like I felt like he was kind of being over dramatic, but I also understand why he was being over dramatic. And I feel like he wasn't being fair to Captain America because obviously he was there and he was trying. He was there at the first sign of danger, but like Tony doesn't know, and it is what it is.
Because to Tony, it's all what's in front of his eyes. He's not paying attention to
and the thing is though,
and I think that's a flaw.
No, 100%.
That's not a good thing.
No, I'm not saying it is. I 100%
and the other
agree.
thing is, like, he did have the opportunity to call Cap, and he didn't. And that's kind of on him.
100% on him.
So,
yeah.
I think the outcome still would have been the same, though, because had he called Cap in that moment,
Cap wouldn't have been there in time.
In the sanctum, he would have. Tony still would have gone up on the ship. And,
I know.
But that's not my viewpoint. Is I don't think that he was fair in judging Cap. I'm just saying that's 100% warranted by Tony because that's who Tony is that we've learned from the last 10 years. I don't want him to look and say, like, okay, let's try again. Like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm over everything that we've done before. Like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought.
All right. Well, good stuff. So let's move on to, the rest of Act 1 is kind of this 5 years later thing. We start off with, this Captain America support group. So that's kind of what he's been up to the last little bit. But then we get into the Ant-Man stuff, and Ant-Man is released by Mickey Mouse out of the quantum realm. Is it a mouse or is it a rat?
It's a rat.
It's a rat.
So
but everyone on the internet is being like, that's definitely Mickey Mouse. Like,
okay, so Mickey Mouse freed the MCU, taking it from Paramount, and also freeing it into the freeing Ant-Man into the world. And it's only been 5 hours,
for
right?
Him.
For him, yeah.
Yeah, for him. This I really like Ant-Man in this movie. I think this is the best version of Scott Lang we've seen in any of these movies. Kane, how do you feel about that?
I agree. I think you're 100% right. He's still very much still the Scott Lang that we've known in the past, but there are like some more like I don't say like super dramatic beats that like are in this movie compared to Ant-Man, especially Ant-Man and the Wasp. But I thought the scene, like when he comes back, the first thing he like does is go to the memorial and he's looking for his daughter. It's like it's the Scott that we've known, where it's like he will do anything for his kid. I thought that was a really good scene, and then when they reunite, I thought it was really good. And I just 100% agree. I think this is Paul Rudd's best performance in the MCU.
Agreed. Yeah, Robert, what about you?
100%, yeah. I mean, I cried like even just before the 5 years later, like 2 times. But the hardest time up until this point was definitely when he sees Cassie. Like it makes sense for his character that after he gets released, the first place he goes is to the vanished names, and he sees himself and he's like, "What the hell happened?" And he immediately goes to Cassie and like their reunion. I don't know how old she's supposed to be in like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I think she's 10 in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, and she's like 15-ish. Okay,
15, 16-ish, yeah.
that makes sense. But like her reaction seeing him for the first time, like she has been missing a father for 5 years. She thought he was dusted, and like seeing him again, like he like holds her face, like just that. You're right. It's a human moment. It's about human connection, and that is such an incredible display of that in this scene. And he just like he doesn't know what to say. He just goes, "You're so big!" Like that's such a great like moment. They're reunite.
Cody, do you like Ant-Man in this movie more than the other ones?
I mean, I've always been a big fan of Ant-Man. Actually, I think he's one of the most like he's the levity throughout the entire MCU. He's always been like that joke. I think I knew. After watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, how important he was going to play a factor into it, of course. But I kind of like it, like after Captain Marvel, I thought everybody thought that she was going to be the saving grace almost. But it kind of, he had a huge part in, like he was it that caused a lot of it to happen. Mm-hmm. So like I like that they gave it to a character that you didn't really expect, but like. He carries on being the same character throughout, and I think that was super important because he's always been like the joking, but not like, oh, here's a punchline for you every 5 seconds. Like he was, he actually showed real heart and emotions. So yeah, I thought he was a huge standout in this movie, but I think he's been a standout in every movie he's been in. Actually.
Sure. Yeah, and then after we see him, he's like you said, the one who kind of gets things going because he's the one who talks about the quantum realm to Widow and to Cap, and then they go to see Tony, who is now married to Pepper. They have a daughter named Morgan. Love everything with the kid.
He's such a good dad. It's so cute.
I love everything with Tony as a dad. What about you guys? Like I think he's great.
The part where he's tucking her in and he's just like he like tells her like a real quick story and then it's just like go to bed or I'll sell all your toys or like his stuff just when he's like playing with her when she has the mask on or when he just goes up shit your mom coined that term that's mom's word you're right it was ice pops juice pops or whatever it was
juice pops
like he was a character who I never really could see having like a future outside the hero work, but also like in Age of Ultron, he was like, isn't this why we fight? So we can end the fight so we can go home and like live normal lives. And I think like just to call back to why Age of Ultron is so awesome. It's because it's like, it is that movie is a cornerstone in the MCU because of how much foreshadowing there is in that movie. But like, especially this moment, like this was what Tony wanted. He fought so that he could stop fighting, and he got the ending he wanted. It may have was it worth the billions, trillions of lives across the galaxy? Maybe not, but he made the best with it.
Well, and the thing too about it is like what we know about Tony Stark from every movie, but primarily I think Civil War, which is something me and Maggie were talking about earlier, is there's a conversation with him and Cap in Civil War right after Bucky gets arrested. There's that whole chase scene. he says that him and Pepper have broken up, and the reason why is because, he was fighting, they were cleaning up Hydra, and then Ultron happened, his fault, and the truth is he doesn't want to stop. And so that's the thing about Tony Stark, is he's always, like, even when he gets his perfect ending, and there's 5 years of his perfect ending, when there wasn't a great ending for everybody else, he gets this ending, and he's still like, I can do more. I don't need to, but I can do it, and that means I should go and be the hero, and that's why I love him, and that's why, he, as she says, can't rest, which is a heartbreaker if you didn't know that for the people who've seen it once. Pepper says to him, yeah, but would you be able to rest if you don't go and help them? And then at the end, she says, you can rest now. So that's just a motherfucking punch gut. The second time you see it, it's not good.
But I think that also shows where we're with Tony and the daughter, and when they show up to talk to him about it's time travel. We can do this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm not losing what I've got. I don't need it. Like, and Tony has showed that hand so many times in the course of the year. Once he makes his decision up, he normally sticks straight behind it. Like, yes, he'll keep pushing, but like different things. Like, he could have easily gave in Civil War and said, you know what, Cap, you're right. No, he stuck to his grounds and stayed firm on what he believed. But then sitting there and thinking about, like, there is a possibility I could save the people I've lost. Like, what if? And like Pepper delivering that line that's the one of the failures I have in life, is never making you be able to just stay still. And I thought it was such an important line, because there are moments in the MCU that I'm like, Pepper Potts, like, people are like, oh, is she still in the MCU? Is she not still in the MCU? It's kind of those moments that I'm glad she was, because it's that through line to Tony that you don't see. No one else sees that side of Tony but her. And to have that line, like, she pretty much says, yes, we have a life now, but go. Yeah. And like, it's crazy, because he has a 5-year-old. Like, he has a kid at this point. Like, not 5, but he has a kid, and like, he got everything out of it. He kept everybody that he pretty much loved, that he needed around. Everybody else lost somebody key. So I thought it was cool when he like stands firm on the porch and says, sorry guys, you can stay for lunch, but this crosstalk's got to stop. Like, we're not doing this anymore. And then finally gives up, solves time travel real effing fast.
That is something that I've heard people complain about, is that, they wish they would have seen a little bit more of him, like, struggling to figure it out, and that it just kind of like happened really fast. But it didn't bother me.
It didn't bother me. I just thought it was really funny that he's like, I don't think so. One more before I go to bed. I just saw time travel. Shit. Like, that's
some important shit going on here.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the next big thing that happens is a very big thing, and that is Hulk. And Hulk in this movie, I fucking love, and let me tell you why. Because it just makes sense. It makes sense from going from Infinity War, where Bruce Banner was like, oh, it's time for me to fight. Come on, Hulk, get out and fight. And Banner will stay back, but Hulk will come out and fight. No, Banner is smart. Hulk is brawny. Let's put the two together. So he spends 18 months in the Gamma Lab, comes out, and now he's, what did they call it? Is it Mr. Hulk? What is
Professor
it?
Hulk.
Professor Hulk. Fucking love it. Ruffalo is having the time of his life doing this character this way. And you can tell based on, there are so many little facial moments where, like, they're doing the thing with Scott, and he's like, I don't want to get him lost in the 1950s or whatever. And then we're good. And then he's doing like these little like facial cues. Like, I love him. When he initially came on screen,
it was a shock.
Yes, it was a shock. As it was to I was about to say Paul Rudd, to Scott Lang. Scott Lang says, I'm confused. Like, I don't know what's going on. He's the audience for that. And we were like, what is happening? But once it's explained and you come to it, it makes sense. I loved it. Maggie, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a shock to start with, and something that you had to, like, get used to. But unlike Thor, I was used to him by the end the first time that we watched it.
Mhm.
And I liked it. And really, I think I would even start that progression to that character back in Ragnarok.
Yeah,
Because he was stuck in Hulk for
years,
and then
a couple of years,
and then he goes back and forth, and then Infinity War happened. So I think you're right that it's just a natural progression. And Mark Ruffalo did a great job. I think some of his faces are stupid. Like the face that he makes when he says that he was made for this, he's like, the radiation is the most gamma. And then he raises like one eyebrow and he like does something weird with like his mouth, and it's kind of dumb. But otherwise,
he's a Robert De Niro face. So.
Otherwise, it's fine. But that one moment,
that's 100% fact. I did laugh, like annoying laugh at that part. It's like, there's only one person that can do it. The radiation's probably mostly gamma.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Like, come on.
I liked it. Kane, what do you think about Professor Hulk?
It took me a very long time to get used to, because every time I saw him, I was just like, this is not what I expected. And I've only seen it once, so I can't have that second view. Because like going into knowing that Professor Hulk is going to be there, I'm just expecting like Hulk, or at least Ragnarok Hulk. And I got this guy who's like just Bruce Banner, but he's like on steroids and he's green, and I didn't know how I felt about it. It was like I just see Mark Ruffalo as Bruce, and I was just like, all right. And then eventually towards the end, it's like I just had a lot of questions about him. Like, is he still as strong? Because like,
yeah, that's my thing too.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of like, because he said he put the brains and the brawn together. I wish we would have seen more of that brawn, because we really didn't.
No,
like,
you don't see him fight a lot.
Even in the final battle, like he's in Hulkbuster.
Well, you have
no.
But the problem is his arm is all fucked because he just.
So we see him fight a. I wish we would have seen it.
He holds up all of the building to save Rhodey and Rocket.
Yeah, that's true. I wish we would have seen a little bit more like Hulk fighting as Professor Hulk. It didn't bother me. I just thought like, if you're gonna say that you put those two things together, like they showed me really, really imbalanced.
I
think smart.
I loved it. Because I'm kind of the person like. I don't like to complain during the movie. Like, I'll complain afterwards after I let it process. But, like, when I said 5 years later, I was like, okay, everybody that we've known is not going to be in the same state. Something's going to change of each person, like something normal. And most of the time I was wrong because, like, Cap stayed who he was. Black Widow stayed exactly who she was, like, caring for the team, all these people. But, like, I would love that the two characters that cornerstones pretty much of the MCU, like two great people like Thor and Hulk, had drastic changes, and I wasn't upset by either, actually. And I thought I would be at first, but I was like, no, we've seen this progression of Hulk throughout. Like Ragnarok, he started talking. Infinity War, it was literally Banner stuck in there. It was one of those cool moments that you didn't get the Hulk as Hulk because even the Hulk was scared of Thanos. Like, that shows something cruel. And, like, 5 years of him just being able to control it and capture it and make it himself, I just thought was really cool. I agree. I wish I would have saw him battle a little bit more, but he has some really good scenes that I laughed really hard at.
I don't think he's done in the same way that, like, Tony and Cap are. I think Professor Hulk will be back in some sort of film, and we'll see it. You were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say that I think the reason that we don't see the battle as much is because clearly, and this is kind of, I guess, I don't know how to explain this except for, like, in Split terms, so I don't know. Like, how he talks about how they hold the light in Split for him? I think that between, Hulk and Bruce having control of their conscience, Bruce won. Like, Bruce is the only person in charge of that body, and Bruce doesn't know what he's fucking doing in terms of fighting.
We see him in New York.
And, like, he can, like, punch things, but, like, he's, like, Hulk's instincts are for fighting, and those are no longer existing.
Well, and that's definitely, and I didn't think of it like that, and I think that's something that could be very cool in the future to explore. Like, maybe, we finally get the rights all the way over to Marvel, because if you didn't know that, the rights to a solo Hulk movie are still held by Universal, so that is why there hasn't been a solo Hulk movie since The Incredible Hulk, because that is the only MCU movie to be put out by Universal. Anyway, it could be something where we see, you know, that battle where like Hulk is now pissed at Banner because like you said we were going to do this together, but you didn't, you kind of shut me out a little bit. Could be something like that. You don't know. As long as we're talking about divisive things, it seemed like me and Cody loved Hulk. Robert and Maggie are kind of, yeah, liked him. Kane's more on the, I wasn't sure. Let's talk about Thor. I'm going to start, and I'm going to say this. I'm just going to spell it out plain and simple so that everyone on the internet understands. This is the natural progression. Now, that does not mean that it isn't shocking, because it is. When you see it, it's shocking, and it's played mostly for a laugh, which, again, I'll get to in my speech that I'm about to give. But this is the natural progression. From Ragnarok, not even Ragnarok, from Dark World and Ultron to Ragnarok to Infinity War to this. This is the progression. This is so human. Of that, what they do to Thor is so human. I know he's not a human, but as far as getting your characters relatable to your audience, this is the most human thing they could have done. In that he was the one. I'm the strongest Avenger. He always thinks he's the strongest Avenger. Even up till now, he thinks he's the strongest Avenger. And he is just completely, you know, super powerful and thinks, you know, I'm going to be the one to completely destroy Thanos, and he's going to be fucked, and I'm going to get Stormbreaker, and I'm going to kill him. And he stabs Thanos with Stormbreaker, makes it slow, and fails because he was overzealous and just kind of went for it too slow because he wanted to prove a point, and he failed. And then when he realized, oh, we can't get the stones back, I'm screwed, he goes off the deep end. And that makes sense. It makes sense that a character who thought, I'm the toughest shit out there, I'm the king, and then goes off the deep end when he realizes that, yeah, you pretty much screwed this. You could have ended Infinity War there. It could have been over, and the only casualties we would have had would have been Vision and Gamora and Loki. But no, a lot of other people died, mostly because of you, and it's the natural progression for you to become this drunk, this slob. And it's not like he's lost his hero stuff too, because upon rewatch, I realized that when they show up, Hulk says, buddy, we need your help. And he's like, yes, of course. He wants to help. But then as soon as they say Thanos, he's done. He doesn't want to be a part of it at first. He doesn't want to be a part of it. He's still got those hero attributes, but he's completely gone off the deep end because of it. He's a drunk, but they want his help. He wants to help, as long as it doesn't have to do with Thanos. I just think it's a very natural progression for the character. It is very shocking, as probably we've all experienced in the theater this weekend. The audience was every time we saw it was very, very shocked by it. I just think that when I left the theater the first time, it was the one thing that I wasn't sure about. But the more and more I've sat with it, the more I've absolutely loved what they've done. Because, and it really is something where it's like, they've put something like so unexpected on the screen with Thor. And I swear to God, we watched a review earlier or something earlier where every time Thor was brought up, they referred to him as Fat Thor. Stop. Say it the first time. Yeah, he's Fat Thor. Absolutely. Then shut the fuck up. Then he's just Thor. He's a damaged character. We don't need to call him Fat Thor every 5 minutes, because I'm fat. And it's kind of, you don't call me Fat Tim every time you see me. You can say, oh, that's Fat Tim. And then after that, shut the fuck up. We don't call Baby Groot every single time. We call him Groot. He's Baby Groot. Oh, that's Baby Groot. And the rest of the movie, he's Groot. He's not Baby Groot the rest of the movie. He doesn't need to be Fat Thor. He's just Thor, and he happens to be fat. Anyway, I've gone on
That
way
was
too
way too
long
long.
about
He's
this.
really good at that, isn't he?
Yeah, Robert, what do you think about Thor?
Yeah, it's similar to you. Coming out of the theater, that's one of the only things that I wasn't quite sure about. But given some time to ruminate on it, that's a Renee word right there for you. I have like it's come around for me. I've started to like it a little bit more. It's better after the second time because the first time you watch it, it is only there for the shock value. Or it feels like it's only there for the shock value, and that shock value lasts the next 2.5 hours. But the second time you watch it, knowing it's coming, you do get more into that character aspect. You listen more to what he's saying instead of just looking at him rubbing his belly on Rocket's head, and you do get more into that character, and it starts to like formulate and understand a little bit more.
Yeah, Cody, what about you?
Freaking loved it. Bring it on, fatty. I absolutely loved it. Like, I'm 100% with you. That's the one thing that, like, we walked out of the theater and, like, the two people I saw it with are like, I really didn't care for Fat Thor. Like, what the hell else do you want from a guy that missed it by this much? That missed changing the reality of what they lived in for 5 years? What do you expect from him? Like, he's not going to buy a Bowflex. He's not going to freaking start lifting weights. He doesn't give a shit anymore. He wants to drink and play PlayStation and just enjoy his life. Like, that's what
69.
That was one of the funniest. Like, I was laughing.
Their
really
Fortnite
hard.
joke is already dated. Imagine how it's going to be in 5 years.
Oh, I know. I don't think they should have done Fortnite. I think they shouldn't even showed the screen. I think they should have just said, "Hey, this kid's bothering me again online," and just like he picks it up. They shouldn't have showed the game. But like, it shows how damaged he was.
Yeah.
And I'm glad when he showed up to do the final fight, he wasn't back to his original shape, because even a Norris god has to do the keto diet or something to drop some poundage. Like, you can't just automatically get lightning shoved through you and drop 50 pounds. It doesn't work like that. He has a beer belly. I laughed really hard when he was driving in and said New Asgard. Like, it was so funny of like where they were. I'm like, oh, we're about to see a real bad off Thor. Like a bad Thor. And it literally didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
And it's just, I do like the part. You brought it up. I do like the part a lot when they walked in and he mentioned Thanos and he got really close to Hulk. And that's even a side that you saw Hulk was like, don't touch me. Like, get your hands off me.
Get your hand off. Yeah.
Like, it was still the rage that he still has in him, that he has controlled. But when he grabs him, he's like, get him off me. Like, that was really cool. I thought that was awesome.
Kane, what about you? What do you feel about Thor?
This has been the moment I've been waiting to talk about this entire time because, unlike Hulk, I love Thor. I've only seen it once. I picked up on every little thing. Literally, like, the progression of Thor from this movie here, Thor Ragnarok.
You have a copy of the screenplay of Thor Ragnarok?
Oh yeah, I love it. It's not nothing new. I love Thor Ragnarok. I love the progression of Thor. And in this movie, to see a character who, from Thor: The Dark World, his mother dies. Ragnarok, his father dies. He loses his world. Then in Infinity War, he loses his brother and his best friend. To go to the very end, where he almost could have like won, killed he could have killed the guy and avenged his brother and his best friend, and done all this stuff, and then he didn't. And then he gets to Infinity War, and he kills the guy, but there's no reward. There's no satisfaction in doing it because he was too late. He did it too late. He still did what he wanted to do, but then he still failed at the end of the day. It's kind of like how in like Superman, like when his dad dies, there was nothing else he could have done. Like, it's just that aspect that you were this all-powerful being, you still couldn't do it enough. I think it's pretty good. And to see his progression 5 years later totally makes sense. He's isolated now. You see Valkyrie in New Asgard, and he's like, yeah, he comes out one day every month to grab more beer. That's it. Because he doesn't know what else to do. He's essentially immortal, and he's stuck living in this failure. And I think that is great. And to kind of like, to go what happens later on in the movie is that he is so desperately wants to do something to feel like he did something good when he's like, please let me do the gauntlet. Let me do the snap. And it's like, no, you're just not good at, you can't do it. You're not in the right state. But it's like he wants to do it so bad because he wants to feel like he can do something and contribute to bringing people back. And I think that progression is just fantastic. And I'm glad he didn't die because we get to see more of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and with the Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that is what I would love a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is for sure happening. But I would even love a movie where it's just Rocket and Groot and Thor like off being the Asgardians of the Galaxy, like whatever. I would love it.
Yeah.
Maggie, you probably had the most violent reaction, I would say, to this Thor thing.
I mean, so from Ragnarok and Infinity War, Thor had quickly become my favorite Avenger, and then this happened, and it was a shock. And walking out of and I didn't like it the entire time that we watched the first time, and I didn't like it until I watched it again, and I was like, yeah, but like the whole time that I didn't like it, I did understand why it was happening, and like the thing that, and now I'm over it. Now it's fine. Now it's I get it. But for me, like all the things that you're saying, the thing that really sticks out to me is that line in Infinity War when he says to Rocket, you know, I've lived for 1,500 years, and there have been
and killed twice as many enemies. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I've killed twice as many enemies, and they'd rather have killed me. And then he's here, and he doesn't win. And then I also really, really love the scene where he talks to his mom again. That just is so rewarding for me in accepting Thor in the state that he's in. Is just like, you know, her being like, you know, this is just how it is sometimes, and you're gonna learn from this, and you're gonna be who you're gonna be, and stop trying to be the king of Asgard. And the other thing, you know, is like of all the Avengers, he's lost the most, 100%, because he's lived so long, because of the events that happened in Ragnarok were so fast to Infinity War. Like literally, his dad died, Mjolnir was destroyed. They
kills his sister.
Asgard itself is destroyed. They think that they're safe. Thanos literally boards the ship, kills half of his people, kills Loki, kills Heimdall, and then that's where he's at. So like he has gotten the worst hand, and so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely the most shocking. And you know, there is this huge culture around Chris Hemsworth being hot as fuck, and it is, you know, they know, and that's why they did it. Yeah. And
well, he's been on record saying that he's sick of doing the ab shots.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to presume to.
You know, this is the movie he didn't have to fucking do workout for. He's fucking pumped.
Well, he still had to work out because he still had to do Men in Black and all these other movies. But yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't have to wear. He got to wear a belly on and eat whatever the hell he wanted for that freaking time that he was in the movie. Probably loved it.
It's definitely the most divisive thing in the movie. We have been talking for a long time about Act 1, so we're gonna fly into Act 2. Basically, more or less, the only big thing from Act 1 we haven't really spoken about is Ronan, Hawkeye. He's off doing his murdering thing. He's murdering people. Basically, you know, he's pissed because all these good people died because of Thanos, and some bad people lived, and so he's taking them out in a very violent way. I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah,
thought the scene was really good. And then all of a sudden, the only thing that I didn't like, how do I say this? I don't love about what they do with Hawkeye in the movie, and this might just be me reading it weirdly, but when I saw the scene towards the beginning where Black Widow is talking with more or less the new Avengers or this new team of Okoye, Captain Marvel, Nebula, Rocket, and Rhodey. Which I guess we didn't talk about. Captain Marvel's there, and she kind of goes off, says there's lots of planets that are getting destroyed, and you guys aren't there, so I'm out. I'm helping them. You won't see me for a while, and we don't see her till the end. But Rhodey says, or Captain Marvel, before she leaves, looks at Rhodey, says, "Good luck." So she obviously knows what they're going to talk about. Rhodey's like, you know, this cartel or this rival cartel or whatever, like it has been murdered or whatever. I don't even really want to find him. We know it's Barton. To me, I read that as he's pretty pissed that Barton's off murdering all these people when he could be helping. And Natasha's upset because Clint is her person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read it as she's saying, please help me find him. And he's saying, I don't want to because he's kind of turned into a jackhole. Then we fast forward. Everyone's completely okay with Clint. And it's never brought up again, except for right during the scene on Vormir, that he was a shitty person for a while. It's never brought up again. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it was just one of those things where it didn't really bother me. I didn't even notice on first viewing. It wasn't until multiple viewings where I was like, yeah, they never really, like, there's a point where he walks up to Rhodey when they're on Morag and says, like, let's get it done. Go ahead, bro hug. And then, like, it's just like, but it's like, 20, like an hour ago, you were fucking pissed that he was murdering people. So I don't know. That might just be me. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
It was a meh. Like
they yada yada through it, yeah.
His scenes were great, but at the end of the day, like they pushed him off to the side for so long, it was hard to like grasp that love for that character. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I was okay with them rushing through it. I'm with you. I'm just like, man, Rhodey really hated him, but they got along pretty well after they got together. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
I guess there was bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, two quick things on that. First off, the scene in Tokyo when Natasha starts talking to Clint and they like hold hands and talk about hope. The Vormir music is playing during that scene, and I didn't notice it till my second viewing, and I'm like, oh shit, these motherfuckers, they're playing me some Vormir music during this scene.
It also plays when she's talking to Cap during the peanut butter sandwich thing.
Oh yeah.
It plays there.
And then the second thing is I have never loved Rhodey as a character. This movie is my favorite Rhodey. I think he has Don Cheadle, I think, has his best moments to shine, like not as an action star. I think Rhodey has always been saved in the MCU to be like another Iron Man, just to be there for like the action. But I think he was used like comedically really, really, really well in Endgame, more than he ever has been before.
Well, if nobody doesn't have anything else to say about Ronan, Maggie's back from using the bathroom, and let's move on to time travel. So basically, yeah, Tony comes back, says, "I can help you guys." They jump into the quantum realm. They pick their targets. They're going after the stones. Before we like really dig into this, the lovely Margaret, Sister Maggie, for everybody, is going to explain how time travel works. Because, don't get me wrong, I completely understand, but apparently I did a very bad job at explaining it to Kane the other night. So, Maggie, explain to the good people how time travel works in Avengers Endgame.
I'll give it a go. So basically, everything that's happened up to the point that they're at when they go into the quantum realm, all that is their past, right? Yeah, that's all happened. So when they go into the quantum realm, though they are going back to their past, they're still like living on. Like their time is straight.
They're staying in their present.
So like their time in the past is their present. They're living their present even though technically they're in their past. So nothing's gonna change no matter what they do. Like they may create an alternative reality by taking a stone, but their past will never change because you can't change your past.
You can't change your future by changing your past is basically, I think, is what he says. You can't change that Hulk says you can't change your future by your now present or something along those lines.
So basically, while they're in the past, it's their present. And then when they come out of the past and they continue living in that whatever time that they're in, 20, whatever
28
it is,
or 2022.
they're continuing to live in their present and that becomes their future. But the time that they experienced in the past is still part of their past. It's just like not.
Yeah. Okay, so Cody first.
Sister Maggie, sorry, I have a question. So it's kind of jumping into a scene, but I'm going to jump into it. So with Loki grabbing the Tesseract and disappearing, and then them going back to Stark's lab or the military base to grab the Tesseract before, does Loki still have the Tesseract in his timeline?
Yes.
But in their timeline, they have the Tesseract.
So what happened basically when Loki did that is it created a new alternative reality because something changed from how the past was. So in the past, what ended up happening is that Thor took Tesseract back to Asgard, because we know that's what happened at the end of Avengers. So when Loki got the Tesseract and like went away, that created a new alternative reality. So everything that happened up to that point to Endgame still happens. That doesn't change. Loki just, his future from that timeline is gonna be different. It's this weird thing, where the that just means that everything is a constant fucking loop, and it's just
yeah. So
but basically,
had Scott and Tony been successful in taking the Tesseract at that point, and then brought it back to that moment, everything would have stayed exactly.
So what you're saying is Back to the Future is bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way that I described it to roommate Michael is that it's
Maggie's
not
gonna kick your ass.
It's not just like time travel. It's the multiverse theory is the way I explain it. So you're not going to your own personal past. You are going to a different dimension, a different reality, and you're going to their past.
Right.
That's the way that like I was able to comprehend it. Because when you just say the word future, past, present a million times, nobody gets it. That's way too confusing.
And that's what Thanos says to Gamora. Gamora says, like, what did you do to these Avengers to like piss them off so much? And he says, it's nothing that I've done. It's something that that my future self, or like the me from their present did to them. It's something I've done. It's just a different thing. Like that's how that scene is the one that really made it click with me, where they're not trying to stop something that I'm going to do. They're trying to stop something that I've already done in their time.
Yeah.
It's just a multiple dimension thing.
Anyway, time travel's thing. Let's talk about the actual things we need to talk
about. It was all so good. All of the time travel stuff was so good.
There was a scene that's so epic to me, and it's so minor. What?
Cap?
No. I love the scene on Morag when Nebula looks at Rhodey and goes, "We gotta go," because in 2014 there are other people looking for the stones that is not us, and that's the first time where you're like, "Shit, you're right." Thanos is looking for the stones at this time frame to put where Guardians is in everybody's mind. I thought it was such a cool part. Besides, I think the best time travel part, because it was the longest, but also had the most character interaction, was New York. I think New York was epic, of everything.
I mean, just like my favorite part of all New York is something that not a lot of people are talking about, but it's the elevator scene.
Yeah.
Hail Hydra. I love that scene. Loved that scene, and I like all those. They're like, we can send on posing up a storm later. Feel free to clean up, or so many stairs, or go ahead, flick me, or America's ass, or Bucky's alive. Like there are so many great things, or even the stuff with the ancient one. Like there's so many great things in New York. My favorite thing in New York was when Cap was like, "No, give me this after Hail Hydra." Like, all right, it's chill, don't worry.
Hail Hydra.
Yeah.
So,
and they just leave him and they just stare at him like. Yeah. I love also the line go, what are you guys doing? They're S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, we didn't know they were bad. They look like bad guys. This is like the clearest day.
Like, Thor's, I had no idea if that would work. All really, really awesome. I didn't know that 2012 Hulk could say anything besides smash. But apparently he can complain about stairs. That was a funny thing.
Tim has something to say. He's coming back.
I'm sorry that I'm making drinks.
He did say puny guy.
He says puny. That's
right. Probably my favorite joke.
He laughs so hard every.
So I believe the direct sequence of things is that is America's ass, and everybody's laughing. Then all of a sudden it cuts, and then you just. So many stairs! I love that so much. I'll be back.
So all of it was good.
When Hulk walks out and starts smash shit, that's like just go smash it. Throws things like light.
Things along the way. Yeah, whatever, Cap.
Go ahead, Kate.
But to kind of like the elevator scene was also my favorite because Winter Soldier leading before this movie was my favorite MCU movie, and just to kind of like relive that like brief moment was awesome. But then the stuff with the Ancient One, Like, I honestly thought, like, the second she, like, knocks him into the astral dimension, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, she just knocks him into his astral form. It's not
Astral form? Okay. When she knocks him that,
astral projection.
I thought for a second we'd get an actual conversation with Bruce Banner and Hulk, and I thought that would have been interesting, but we didn't. But I thought that scene was actually kind of cool.
I do love how badass she is when he starts walking. He starts walking towards her, and he goes, "You don't want to do this." Boom! Just no questions. Just like totally knocks him out.
I also loved how she could see the future and was like, Stephen Strange is supposed to be the best of us.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have given up the stone unless like it was for a reason.
Yeah.
So okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Hulk came asking for the stone to start with, like Ancient One. I get it, but you should have already seen this coming. Like he already brought Strange up, and you're like, "You're 5 years too soon." And like, what? I may be the only one in the room, and I get it, but I felt the Vormir stuff was good, but I felt like it was better in Infinity War between Thanos and Gamora.
No,
They tried to recreate the same moment,
I think it worked.
and I felt like it fell. What?
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
I felt like it. I don't know what you said though. I didn't know. I was. You can agree or dis. I felt like it fell flat for the time because I felt like it was just cheaply done. If that makes sense. Not that I don't think it has weight. I think it has weight. I just think it meant so much a year ago, like with Gamora and Thanos, like just to redo the same thing.
I think the scene is good. I agree with you, Cody. I think the scene is good. But I think that had it been shot differently, it was shot the exact same way as the Thanos and Gamora scene with subtle differences. There's a callback to Civil War there when
she does.
When he flips her. And it's the exact same shot as from Civil War with the airport scene, and she's like, "Are we still friends? Depends on how hard you hit me." Exact same shot. So there's interesting stuff there, but more or less, it is shot exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And so it just, I agree with you. It was a good scene. I felt the weight.
Would it have had weight? Would it have more weight if it was two different characters than somebody that just disappeared?
I think these were the perfect.
I thought I tried so hard. I
think
this.
See, this scene I thought was phenomenally done. Mainly based on the fact, like, if you just take like filmmaking tropes, and it's just like a lot of things happen like odd numbers, so it's like in 3s or 5s or 7s. But so I believe, because I was paying attention. It's like, okay, when Hawkeye just straight like jumps off Earth, I think that was like the 3rd time that they like tricked us, like who's going to die, and Hawkeye just straight jumps. And then they pull the rug right under us, and then it's the 4th time, and that's actually the time that person actually dies. And doing that, it just catches people off guard. I always thought like Black Widow was the one who it would make more sense to die in this scene, because the second I realized that they're going to Vormir, only one's coming back. So I thought that was honestly the perfect pairing. Like, there's not out of the teams that went, there was not a better pairing to go. I thought.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because
agreed.
And I thought it was done very well. And then it got to the point when Hawkeye jumped. I'm like, okay, this isn't who I expected to die in this scene. And then when he gets saved and she dies, it's like, I think it's very rewarding. And they actually get to have like this kind of like goodbye in a sense. I thought that was really well.
Yeah.
That was just me. I never thought she was going to be the one. I knew that. I never thought that Hawkeye was going in the moment. That's me. It didn't catch me by surprise.
I didn't even realize that one of them was gonna die until they got to Vormir. Like I wasn't thinking about it. Like once I wasn't even thinking about it at all. When there's like a long way from Budapest, wasn't thinking about it even at all. Once they got to Vormir and I saw that moon, I'm like, oh shit. One of them has to. Oh shit.
Yeah. And they don't know that, but we as an audience knows.
Yeah, and exactly. And when they're hanging there and she's like, it's okay, let me go. Like, I thought that was so beautiful and it's so well done. I think that like it was more important to the plot and more of a shock when it happened in Infinity War, but I think it had more emotional weight for me personally when it happened here in Endgame.
Yeah, because in Infinity War, in that scene, once you realize that someone has to die, it has to be Gamora, because Thanos isn't going to sacrifice himself. But in this scene,
but as soon as they're... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, in this scene, though, it's like, it can be either or.
As soon as they're breaking down the thing, I said, okay, whoever goes to Vormir is one of them is dying. Like I knew it from the get-go because there's of all the stones, there's no other catch. Like there's no like you can steal it from this place or you can pick it up from this place. The only way you can get the stone is sacrificing one. And once that Rhodey and Nebula gone off at Morag, I was like, okay, one of those two are going, and it's probably Black Widow. Because I just don't see Ronan going, or I don't see Hawkeye. That was just my viewpoint. I guess I just saw it coming too soon. When the other one in Infinity War, I didn't know the rules. I didn't know how the game was played. So when they said one leaves, one gets what they want, the other's not coming out, and you're like, oh shit, it's Gamora. Gamora's gone. Like at this point, because Thanos is going to sacrifice her, and. But there's even that line at the Infinity War is like, yeah, you've never loved anything, and you finally realize that Thanos actually did love her, and it does count for him to do it. That's why I thought it was good, but it was they played that card for me. They played that card in the first.
Yeah.
So.
I also love how they saved that to be like one of the last. That was the last stone that they get. Like because they're distracting me with New York and Morag and Asgard, like
and Tony seeing his dad.
Yeah, and they're going to New Jersey and they're at Shield, and Steve sees Peggy, but she doesn't see it. Like they're distracting with all this other really, really amazing character work and amazing performances
and a ton of cameos.
Just amazing stuff. Like just great stuff going on. And then it cuts to Vormir, and then you're like, oh fuck, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like it had escaped my mind completely. Like I was thinking about Thanos, and I was thinking about Howard Stark, and I was thinking about Peggy and all of these other things before I started thinking about
I know you guys kind of talked about it a little bit, but with them on Morag, and then you realize, oh shit, Thanos and Gamora and Nebula are looking for the stones. It wasn't until the whole movie I was thinking, okay, they're doing the stones thing and they're gonna snap to get everybody back. But what are we really like? Like, is that what we're fighting like against? And then you realize this past Thanos is gonna come in, be the villain of the movie, more or less, for the rest of the movie. And I've got to be honest, I didn't like 2014 Thanos as a villain as much as normal Infinity War Thanos. I don't think it's because he's a bad character or anything. I think everything that he says and does makes complete and utter sense. I just thought that it was a little too rushed, but it also, like, I get it. Does that make sense? Like, do you understand? Yeah. Does everybody get? Yeah.
He seemed more on this one like a twirling, ruthless but twirling mustache kind of villain. Like, just it was super like we already knew the Thanos before, and this was like super like here we go. Like,
yeah,
he said his classic Thanos thing.
It was different, but it's a good thing.
I think compare Infinity War Thanos and at least Guardians of the Galaxy Thanos. Is in Guardians of the Galaxy, the Thanos that we see, he's a guy who's pretty much essentially gotten his way his entire life. And then in a very short instance, he loses not one, but two of his daughters to like the other side. And I think the Thanos that we see in Infinity War is a lot more like he has to think this out. He has to like plan stuff. And that's why I think we like him a little bit more because he's just smarter. While this one, the Guardians of the Galaxy is like almost a brute in a sense. Like he's just straight like I'm stronger than anyone.
I will bathe always.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference between the two.
Well, but
he's naive.
It's not even. But my point is that he says that his plan is like when I realized that, or he's like I thought that
his new plan is dumb.
He's like, I thought that snapping my fingers or whatever and taking out 50% would do this, blah, 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 blah. But it turns out that the people who were left were blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, he basically, to me, this is how I interpreted it. He takes from a couple videos from Nebula's head. Granted, he saw all of them. We just didn't know. But from the few videos he sees from Nebula's memory, he's able to comprehend everything that this 2018 Thanos has and just goes, I guess not. Let's do this. And it just felt like it was rushed in the sense that, like, yeah, he just knew all of this information already just from that one video and then was able to just top it. And, like, I still think that it was a good villain. I just thought that it wasn't as strong because it just felt like, yeah, okay, like, I guess I have to be up to speed with the audience and with all of the Avengers that I'll be fighting against. So I'll watch a couple, like, recap videos so I can be up to speed with everybody.
Because I think they just didn't show all the ones. Like, I think he saw a little bit more than what they show on screen, which you have to interpret and you have to be okay with. But
especially
like,
because it's already 3 hours long.
Yeah, I still love the line when we get to the third act though, when he's just like, this time I don't, it's nothing personal, but I'm gonna enjoy it this time. Like,
that was basically the line from Infinity War where he was like, "This does put a smile on my face." Like, that's I thought that was sort of a reference to that. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, the Thanos, it seemed a little bit like the movie was saying to the audience, like, this Thanos, he knows everything. Just don't worry about it. Like, and I bought it. I understand, Tim, that, like, you may not have, like.
Don't get me wrong. I bought it. I just didn't like it as much. It was one of those things where, like, the movie does a really good job of explaining in a way that's not patronizing to the audience. And this was just one of those things where it was just like, well, I hope you don't notice. And I did, but it also didn't, like, it didn't bother me to the point where, like, I dislike the movie. It was just one of those things that kind of, like, stuck out to me a little bit.
Sure.
No.
Yeah.
And in comparison to at least Infinity War, like, Infinity War, we spend a lot of the movie with him, while in this movie, we spend a lot with the Avengers. And I still think, like, Thanos in this movie is still better than at least half of the MCU villains that we've had in the previous movies.
More than half.
Yeah. He's still in the better half.
I don't know. I think I like Ghost and that other guy from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Malekith?
No, Bill Foster.
No, not Bill Foster. The
slimy guy.
the Southern guy.
Walton Goggins. It is Sonny Birch.
Zemo.
Sonny
He's
Birch.
really the best. Anyway, did you have something to say?
No, I'm just saying we need to.
Wow. Okay. Anyway, so we get into the third act. We didn't talk about
awesome.
Did we talk about the tacos?
Yeah, we have a beautiful moment with Howard Stark. Love all that. And then, yeah, like Robert mentioned, the thing with Peggy. We get into the third act. Hulk snaps his fingers. Presumably everybody is brought back. Here's my biggest problem with the movie. Are you ready for it?
Really?
I bet none. No. My biggest problem with the movie is this scene. You want to know what it is?
Birds?
No.
Oh.
You're telling me that when you dust away after the snapping,
sure,
your whole body goes.
Yep.
Shh. You don't say anything.
I know where he's
I've already
going.
talked about this. Presumably, even Bucky, his arm is a metal arm, but it goes away with him. So presumably, just everything that's on your body goes away. You're telling me that Clint Barton, a man on the run, has kept a phone plan for his wife for 5 years?
Oh, fuck
She
off.
can all of a sudden grab her phone. Her phone still has been paid for.
He's on auto pay. He's on
say,
auto pay and paperless billing. He doesn't know.
On the same, it's bullshit.
Hey! You gotta think it could just be grieving different ways. Take Zemo. He kept that message on his phone forever.
From Sokovia, that's true.
So I mean,
no, I'm just fucking kidding. I don't give a shit about that.
I still saw it. I'm like, how convenient. The snap happened, and she is now picking up the phone to call you.
Oh my god, I cried when he picked up the phone. I sure did.
Oh my gosh, Robert.
But anyway, so the snap happens. It presumably works because we get the call from Laura. And
that scene.
Hulk looks up, missiles coming in. When the Avengers compound gets destroyed, my jaw literally dropped.
I thought Ant-Man was dead.
And when the camera zooms down, and every time this gets me, not to the point where I'm crying like Robert, but it just makes me kind of like tense up, is when you see Hulk holding it up, and then it cuts to Rocket, and
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
I can't breathe. And literally the first time I my arm like reached over and like grabbed Maggie. I was like, ah! I could not handle it. And Rhodey just get it. Like, it's like it from a moment of pure joy. Holy shit, we pulled this off to absolute mayhem in the matter of 10 seconds. I thought that scene was incredibly well done.
Yeah.
The main three come up. They see Thanos is sitting there, and
Thor's like,
because Nebula switched herself with the other Nebula, so the 2014 Nebula is the one who lets Thanos' ship in, and this sets up a great fight with Thanos and our Iron Man, Thor, and the very worthy Captain America. Let me ask you guys, how were your audience reactions? How were your reactions to Captain America being the most worthy?
I cheered.
Yeah.
I clapped.
I laughed, like, I screamed and I was like laughing too, because when Thor's reaction was, I knew it!
I knew
Like,
it!
it goes back to that moment in Ultron, which I still think people that hate Ultron, I don't like you. But when he
Ultron's great.
when he slightly picks it up and you see it barely budge, and Thor's like,
He's
oh
like,
shit.
I knew it.
And he's like, I knew it. And like when he's spinning it with that, that 3-person scene, I thought it was going to be hard to beat Bucky, Cap, and Iron Man, that battle in Civil War, because at the very end, but that just did everything I needed it to, because the way they bounced off they just earned everything in this. That's the whole thing about this. They've set up a perfect connected universe and made every moment feel so important, and that 3-person fight against Thanos is amazing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kane. Yeah.
I was gonna say, they can't make this movie in 2012 or 2015 or 2016. This movie was made at the perfect time, I think.
Yeah.
It just, like, for me at least, like, when, like, everyone, like, this is starting, like, at my theater, there's like reclining seats and everything, and I just take the recliner, just put it back, and I just start leaning like against like my knees. I'm just like, I'm just so like invested, and it's like, this is just everything that we've been wanting to see has been leading up to this. I did think Ant-Man died for a good few minutes. I got like really worried, because I'm like, this is the best Scott Lang we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I had the biggest shit-eating grin on my face when, like, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but when we see the portal and everybody who was dusted starts coming back, that assembling scene, I was just like,
on your left.
Yes, like the entire time, just like, oh my god, when you just hear Cap, do you read me? On your left, I'm just like, oh fuck yeah, it's happening right now. Let's go. Like,
I think that's so amazing too, because when Thanos is standing there and he's cut down the shield that you've seen for so long, withstand everything, and it's literally cut down, and Cap is not quitting. Like, I was waiting for him to say, I can do this all day, but like, he stands up, and like, I know, but I wanted him to say it so bad to Thanos, like, I can do this all day, and you see all the front, like, everything that Thanos is about to bring, and you're like,
that is the most beautiful shot in the movie.
That wide shot of Cap versus the world is beautiful.
And then his line when he's like, everybody comes, and I'm glad he didn't scream it. I'm glad he didn't do anything. He's just like, Avengers, assemble. Like, just simply go. And like, when they all started running towards, I leaned over to my friend. I said, and now roll the credits and watch everybody lose their shit. Like, hey, come back in a year, watch what happens. Like, no, it was just, I was just like, jaw dropping, like, motherfucker. Like, it was so cool.
Every single second of that giant fight is exactly what you wanted it to be. Every single character has their moment. You get Quill and Gamora. You get Ant-Man punching one of the big Chitauri things. You get Scarlet Witch versus Thanos. You get the Captain Marvel moment where the guns start pointing up, the rainfire guns start pointing up and shooting at her. For half a second, I thought they were like bringing Silver Surfer. Like, I'm not even kidding. That's not a joke. I seriously thought I seriously thought, oh god, really? And then I'm like, oh shit, wait, no, Captain Marvel hasn't shown up yet. And then she comes, destroys the ship, and I'm like, yes, it's another Last Jedi thing where like the ship gets destroyed by something going through it. But yeah, Captain Marvel lands. There's the empowering scene, which we can talk about it if you want, but
Maggie as a woman, as a woman who has been empowered.
As a woman,
My take is the only take that matters. I liked it the first
That's
time,
valid.
and I did like it the first time. My problem with it, I think we talked about this before we went on air, basically. The problem with it is that Captain Marvel doesn't need their help. She can very easily just go through all those people by herself. But watching Scarlet Witch do the thing to the big T'Chari thing, and then watching Valkyrie do the thing to the big T'Chari thing was awesome. And they all like shoot at Thanos because he was gonna hit her. Like, I get it.
And there's also a really beautiful moment, right before that scene where that Peter and Tony have, where they see each other for the first time. That's really
nice.
great. Oh, this is nice. Well, and I love how he's like, and then Doctor Strange was like, it's been 5 years, we have to go help them. And then he started doing the glowy thing, and like, oh, it's so good. Like,
I love when they play hot potato with the gauntlet. Where Black Panther takes it for a little bit, and then Spidey takes it, and he's like, "Oh, hi, it's nice to meet you." Ah! And then, when he hands it to Captain Marvel, I love that moment. He's like, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker," and she gives that little smirk, which like I think Brie Larson is incredible in that moment. She just goes,
"Hey, Peter Parker.
Hi, Peter Parker. You got something for me?" Like, I think that line is fantastic.
Scarlet Witch versus Thanos is so underrated in this movie. Like when
I
people
don't
are
even
walking
know
out,
who you are.
like
You took everything from me.
You took like I'm just like, get him, bitch, rip him to shreds. Like that was the most women empowering moment of the entire fucking movie. She just shows
Really,
up.
it wasn't the three-way between Valkyrie and Captain Marvel and Thor at the end?
Okay. So basically when she just stands there and looks at it and like literally takes control of him that no one else has in the entire movie, and just if he doesn't say release whatever Rainfire, that's release the Kraken. But if he doesn't do that, it doesn't have that effect. Like she's just like,
she's about to tear him.
Wanted to see that.
She was gonna kill.
Oh, it was so. That was probably my favorite moment of that battle.
So the battle goes on. Then we get to the point where they're trying to throw the stones back through the quantum realm. Thanos destroys the ugly brown van, and then we have this final little punch. It comes down to just Tony, Thanos. Tony grabs the stones and says, "I am Iron Man," and snaps his fingers, which is the best thing he could have said. It wasn't forced, Robert Parker, and it is a callback to the first MCU film, a perfect film, a film that is in the top 5 MCU films. It was great.
Oof.
Maggie, what'd you think about that scene?
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. Well, and I think it's like, I get that he says I am Iron Man in that moment, and the reason I think it's less forced also is because Thanos, right before that, said, "I am inevitable." And so his response is, well, fuck you, I'm Iron Man. And so that makes sense to me. And that's why it wasn't forced.
Yeah, in all seriousness, Robert, you do feel like that scene, or at least when we spoke last, you thought it was a little forced.
I thought it was
Wait a minute.
That way, tell me how you feel.
I thought the Iron Man thing was like the I am Iron Man was super cheesy and like unnecessary, but I watched it a second time yesterday and I didn't feel that it was as out of place as I did my first viewing.
Listen, I'm over this. I've been your friend in this community for 2 fucking years, and I'm over you. Listen, fucking Iron Man's badass. Yes, it's a chauvinist. Does he like women? Does he treat them like objects? Yes. Is he an alcoholic? Is he a playboy billionaire philanthropist? Yes. Go fuck yourself, Robert Parker. His response is correct. His response is, "I am Iron Man," because listen, Thanos looks at him with the most cocky face possible and goes, I'm inevitable. And then nothing. And then he goes, "Bitch, I'm Iron Man." And he couldn't say bitch because he's owned by Disney. So fuck you, Robert Parker. Wasn't cheesy, wasn't rushed. It was perfect, and I love it. Go brush your fucking teeth. I'm over you.
Okay, Kane, what did you think about that? The scene.
I thought it was great, and even if it is forced in Robert's eyes, it's 100% earned. They can force something out of 11 years. They've earned that right. And
The
I think
motherfucker dies. Okay?
Right.
Spoiler alert. He fucking dies. And, fucking cheesy. Last words was cheesy. Should he said a gotcha, motherfucker? Or should he have been like, oopsie? Like, it doesn't fucking work. He says the line that started the MCU. It makes sense. Not rush, not cheesy. Perfect.
there's no
100%
other line
perfect.
you'd want him to say.
Sorry, Daddy.
Well, fuck you. I'm Iron Man. Oh, I'm sorry. It probably triggered you.
Okay, so
Cody, you broke my life.
That fucking scene, of all things, I thought you would be the one person that'd be okay with it, but no, cheesy. Fuck you.
I said I like it more the second time.
Hey, you Marvel slut over there. If it wasn't for I Am Iron Man, you wouldn't be the movies you'd be able to be a slut for, okay? You might as well enjoy it.
It's a Marvel horror, not a Marvel slut.
All right.
You put out.
Let's move on.
Anyway, Kane, did you say anything? I'm sorry, man. Did you say anything?
Yeah.
Sorry, Kane. I'm stopping.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're done now. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
That even if Robert thinks it's worse, that it's well deserved. They've built up to this very moment for so long. If they want to force a line in there that makes everyone cheer and like stand up and like, yeah, you know what, he is fucking Iron
Yeah.
All right.
And then then he dies.
It's a beautiful. His death is beautiful. We obviously, I think we all kind of saw either him or Cap or both going. But in this way, having him go, I said it earlier. His whole existence is just to help.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since the first Iron Man, ever since he got back and put a hold on the weapons manufacturing at Stark, what is it? Stark Industries. Thank you. Ever since that moment, all he's done is try to help. And even in this moment, that's his last thing. And I love that the three people who say goodbye to him are Rhodey, Peter, and Pepper. I think that's beautiful. It's the three people who have met the most, maybe other than John Favreau, but it's just beautiful.
Which he had his moment too in the funeral, which I love.
Absolutely. In that moment, of the people who were there, I'm so glad they didn't push in Cap or Thor or Hawkeye or someone to say goodbye. I'm just so happy it was the three of them. And I'm so happy it wasn't Pepper holding him and saying, I love you, don't go. It could have been so cliched, but it was just so beautiful the way they did it. Where she just said, Tony, look at me. We're going to be okay. You can rest now. And he didn't even have to say a word. All he says is like, Pepper. Like, he barely says it. He doesn't have to say a word like somebody, I think it was in the Screen Junkies spoiler review we were just watching. They could have done something where he takes out the reactor and gives it to Peter and is like, it's your fight now, son. No, they didn't do anything stupid like that. It was just so simple and beautiful. You can rest now. It was so well done. And then, go ahead, Cody.
I thought it was just perfect because he's always so talkative and he's always so smart ass response, and he really says nothing, and he just sits there and like you'd think in his mindset like, why did I do this? But I think part of the parts that we didn't talk about leading up to that is like when Strange shows him the one, like. And he knows it's his. He has to take this. And he talks about the vision. And he talks about this is where it had to end. This is where it had to go. It doesn't make sense with anybody else but him. He was probably making too much money. He probably was okay playing Iron Man until he died. But the Russos were like, no, this is where it's got to end out. This is the end game. Like, you have to. And him sitting there with that blank look and just like, he's not making it out. And there was no gas. You're right. There's no gas for air. There's no like, live on, or like no fucking doves flying over him and he resurrects and comes back, like nothing, like he's gone, and that's beautiful. And he goes out in the perfect way possible of saving the people that he knew he tried to the entire time as he was Iron Man.
There's no stupid Deadpool 2 like
That's what I was about to say. Granted, Deadpool 2 is marketed as a comedy and this isn't. It wasn't that stupid fucking ending from Deadpool 2 where it's just
Deadpool
like
2's garbage.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so we move on. There's a beautiful funeral scene where we get the entire MCU. Anybody who's ever been
Paul Bettany.
Yeah, except for Vision. Yeah. But basically everybody who's been important to Tony in some way, and the big players of the MCU are there saying goodbye. It is us as the audience, along with the rest of the characters, saying goodbye to Tony, and it's fantastic. It's
Right.
really
Who was the kid behind
Iron Man 3 kid.
Harley Quinn.
Iron Man 3 kid? That's
Yep.
what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought, but I was just like,
For a second, I thought it was Evan Peters Quicksilver.
I was like, you showed up at the wrong place. Like, you're not here. Why are you here? Like, it made sense now. Okay, fair enough. Go.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. I cried during the funeral, and I also cried when Morgan was talking to Happy about cheeseburgers.
Yeah, Kane, what do you think about the whole funeral sequence?
Yeah, I just thought the funeral was brilliant, and the fact that like it was like one shot when they're just going showing everyone, and they actually just like they would hold it there like these people are here and then these people are here, and like it didn't make the scene longer, but I thought it was like it was nice. It just felt like a nice way just to send them off and to see people like Hank Pym who absolutely just hated the Stark show up, and then you get the moment with Aunt May and Peter and. Just the fact that like literally everyone's there. The last person you see is of course Nick Fury, who brought him into this entire thing. I thought it was just great. For a second, it took me a while to figure out who Harley was. Like that Harley was there.
So different.
Yeah.
But I just actor was it Ty Simpkins?
Yeah, it was Ty Simpkins.
Okay.
Because Caleb was deep in that IMDb page.
Caleb, whole question.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought it was really good on just how they did it, and they just kind of that is your time to just like realize that he's dead, and this is his goodbye.
The video that he made for Morgan, I know Maggie, you like that a lot, but like the casual way that he just says, like, and like the "I love you 3000," like that callback. That video made me wait, and then Happy's just like, "You okay?" And Morgan, "Yeah." "You hungry?" "Yeah." "What do you want?" "Cheeseburger." "Your dad likes cheeseburgers." "Okay, as many cheeseburgers as you want." Like, oh my god, the waterworks.
Yeah.
You know that it was Iron Man, right? That you cried for, Robert?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. Anyway, so at literally every time that we've watched the movie, I've teared up at one part, and actually two parts, but that one part, it's the three punch of the "you can rest now." Part of the journey is the end. Love you 3000. That gets me every time. And then the other part is right after that when Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch are standing there talking about Black Widow and Vision. That gets me really bad also because they're just like, yeah, they know.
I know.
They both know. I didn't even think about Vision. I thought she was talking about Quicksilver.
Oh no, she was talking about.
No, she's talking about it. Yeah, she's
like way more sense.
Yeah, that she was
doing the things with. That she knows.
That's
after she had already.
They're just like, I wish there was a way to tell them that we won.
Yeah,
they know. They both know.
So yeah, we already talked a little bit about Thor going off with the Guardians of the Galaxy, so that happens. I'm excited for what that holds in the future. It's a funny scene. Of course. Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, nice. That's Mantis's only line in the movie.
Brad should fight each other for the honor of leadership. That's his only line.
Yeah, so that it's a good scene. Okay, so we come to
real quick. I'm sorry. So I did not think about this until my roommate said this after we saw the movie. But I was always thinking, oh, what happened to 2014 Gamora? She probably got dusted in the snap because she's part of Thanos' army. That's
wasn't.
How do you know?
Because she, in her heart, was not part of Thanos' army, and there's no way that Tony simply went to each person, fuck off. No, she was fighting with them in that female scene. She was not part of Thanos' army. She's not dusted, but that doesn't mean that she wants to be with the Guardians. Like, she chose that path. When she chose that path, that doesn't mean that she's going to choose it again.
She's not dusted. She's not dusted.
Because Tony, dusted
It is something that crossed my mind.
She's not dusted.
Anyway, so we move on. The final scene, more or less, Cap is taking the stones, all of them back to their place. Maggie brought up, I wonder how that conversation went with Cap and the Stonekeeper on Vormir. Probably was an interesting conversation that they had together.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, but I don't want to try to leave this on a sour note, but I have, and Maggie's mad at me about it, but she's wrong. That's fine. If somebody else can explain it to me, that's fantastic. But this is how I feel about the final scene. I don't understand it. The whole movie has been, I think it's a beautiful scene. It's beautifully shot and acted, and the visual effects on old Captain America are great. But I don't understand it because the whole movie has done such a good job of explaining time travel to us that if you you change something, you become part of this other reality, another dimension, if you will, as Robert was explaining it before. So by Captain America going back in time and not dying, not going under, or whatever. Maybe he goes back to a couple months later and is like, hey, that other guy's still frozen under the ice, but I'm here. Whatever. Don't think about that. But he goes and he marries Peggy Carter. That would then in turn create something different than what we know as the MCU, the current timeline.
Correct.
I get that. But then that doesn't make sense that he just shows up as an old man in 2023. In that timeline, he would have had to have leaped back into the quantum thing. So I think that had Hulk said and returning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he would have shown up in a suit as a 90-year-old man with a shield, and the scene would have played out exactly the same way, I would feel differently about it. But the way that they insinuate that he just took the long way and lived these 90 years or whatever.
He didn't live from 1945 to 2023.
Of course, he still has super soldier serum. Of course he did.
But nonetheless, but like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Him just showing up on that bench, I get it. It's beautiful. But just in the rules that they set up in the movie, to me, it just, every time it's bothered me, and it bothers me just a little more every time because, again, and Maggie said, well, he jumped back. He just didn't jump back where? Okay, well, so then who else in that time at that moment is hitting a button to bring him back?
Why can't he hit his own button?
Someone explain it to me because I don't.
What? I'm only going off of
magic.
I'm only going off of one viewing, so I could be completely wrong in the scenario. But I believe it's in Winter Soldier. She says that she remarried, correct?
No.
What if she just remarried him? And this entire time that she married Cap, and she just didn't tell him because then it'd throw everything out. I mean, it's just a theory. I'm stretching, but it could be a possibility.
Yeah, that's possible. Theory. I like that theory a lot, actually. As far as the quantum thing, like, I mean, if he had the GPS locator that Tony made, there's no reason that he couldn't, like, use it and come out of the van at a different point in time.
The van is destroyed.
He could
have come out before it got destroyed. Like, there's no reason that he could have come out in Pym's lab, like at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like,
my point is that is all us going. It could have been
right.
that.
And you're right.
And to me,
is that how I sound?
The movie it should have explained that better.
Yeah,
that does not.
And that's a fair
take away from the way the actual scene. I have to take that away, like me nitpicking that away. The scene is beautiful between him and Falcon.
Yeah, you want to tell me about her? No, I don't think I will.
I don't think I will. Yeah, it's a beautiful scene. I just have that nitpick. I don't know if Cody, you felt the same way. But that's how I feel.
Again, I know one time travel, and that's Back to the Future, and fuck whatever they did in this one, and I'm okay with whatever they did in this one. I just don't understand it. I understand it a little bit better after Maggie explained it, but still, at the end of the day, like, I agree with you. Like, I think there need to be more. Like, it just seemed very convenient. Like, oh, here's old man sitting on the bench. Like, he doesn't come through the same way. It is what it is. I don't really care. I know they had to wrap it up, and it was beautiful, and it was already 3 hours plus movie, so they just had to go with it. But like, I mean, I thought it was good. I'm on the kind of side that I'm not really pumped that Falcon's the next Captain America, and I don't know how everybody else feels like that. I would rather Bucky take the brains because I think Bucky's got like actual powers. and not be a tech guy. So like I don't know, it's weird for me. I'm okay with whatever they do, but I really wish it was been Bucky.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like in the comics, from what I understand, it's not so much that like Falcon or like why can't I think of Falcon's name?
Sam Wilson.
Sam, thank you, Jesus. It's not that Sam is literally going to be running around in a Captain America costume and literally just be a spinning image. He's still going to have Falcon wings, from what I understand. He's just also going to have a shield and carry the name Captain.
He's got the mantle, yeah.
He is nodding
Then
at me
that's
like
fair. Then that's fair. Okay.
and so I actually like that approach where he's literally just like doing the same things hero wise. He's just has the shield and is donning the mantle of Captain America in the same way that if like
Pepper could be the new Iron Man. Yeah.
Pepper were to decide to, or War Machine, or if Rhodey were to be the new Iron Man. Exactly. It's not necessarily that they have the same powers. What'd you say?
I would just tell you Black Panther's always just passed out. The mantle of the Black Panther is just continuously going.
Yeah. So I agree. I think I probably would have preferred it to be Bucky, but at the same time, like I like Anthony Mackie and I like Sam, so like I'm not. And me and Maggie were talking about this. They announced a Disney Plus show called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm pretty sure. So like,
it's not gonna be called.
Who knows what the hell's going on?
It's hard it's not called that.
Yeah. Well, they also announced a show called like
WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Oh, it's WandaVision. Okay. See, I've been wrong this whole time. Okay. So, but then the movie pretty much ends. It goes to a beautiful. What did Kane think of Captain America? I don't know. Kane, what'd you think?
I thought it was great. It's one of those things, kind of like the whole, like the Iron Man thing, where you might think it's forced. I think it's well deserved. I think it's nice to know that Cap had his happy ending. At least someone did.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a beautiful send off for that character. I actually prefer that Sam was the Captain America, the person that like they pass it down to. I think that was just brilliant, in my opinion, because they established like in Black Panther that Bucky's now the White Wolf or whatever, which apparently is also a different comic book character. I don't know much about him, but so it's like I think they're just two different mantles for both characters. I think makes sense. And then the fact that Bucky's like, Sam, go talk to him. Like Bucky didn't even have like the moment with him. I mean, he probably still talked to him, but like it was like Sam definitely had the moment. And I think if they did have the scene where they're like explaining like, oh well, this is how I did it, I think it would have taken away from the actual scene with them.
True.
And then we'd be sitting here playing. It's like we didn't need to know that.
Yeah, something that is really clear when you watch it multiple times is that he totally told Bucky before he left that he wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
That he was gonna live his life because he like hugs him and they like say goodbye, like goodbye.
He says, "I'm gonna miss you." To
And
Steve,
like,
yeah, he says, "I'm gonna miss you. I'm really gonna miss you, Steve."
Yeah. So with that makes sense, and that's
because why if he's only gonna be gone for 5 seconds? Why do I'm gonna miss you? Like
otherwise he would have had the same reaction.
Bucky
well, the way that Bucky smiled when he didn't come back and started to walk away, like he knew.
I mean, this is the thing that he's wanted for quite a while.
A long time, yeah.
But and then Cap finally gets his dance with Peggy, and that is a perfect way to end the movie. So we basically Cap's more or less dead.
He's dead
because he's an old man. But it was a great way to end the movie. I think the fact that this movie I like the way that it does its first little bit of credits, kind of showing little clips of each character, and then they do the big thing for the main six with the signature. Really beautifully done from a design standpoint. I think whoever did the design for those end credits, very, very well done. And I'm honestly happy there's no post-credit scenes because, like, imagine how exhausting it would be to get an end credit scene at the end where we're teasing the Silver Surfer, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men. I know that's what everybody wanted, but it's just like, and I honestly wanted.
But that's not doing justice to the story.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I wanted something too, like tease me the X-Men, tease me Far From Home, but like after seeing the movie, it just makes so much sense why they didn't do it.
The book is shut. the book is shut. You don't need something written on the back of it. Like that's the perfect thing of it. Like I didn't want Far From Home. I didn't want anything else. I wanted it's 3 hours long. Like they told their story.
Yeah.
And like I don't need anything extra. Like I'm glad they didn't do anything. But
I mean,
really
the stinger they did at the very, very end, I thought was just brilliant. It was, it's the perfect way just
the sound of Tony hammering away. Yeah.
But
that's all I needed.
Yeah, so that's Avengers Endgame.
It's been 2 hours.
Maggie's very upset with me, I think.
No, I just am tired.
We've seen this movie a lot. I've seen this movie 6 times this weekend. I'm probably gonna watch it again tomorrow. Make it a clean 7.
She's a maniac.
What?
Maggie's like,
I was singing the
I'm
song
not going to
Maniac.
see it tomorrow. I guarantee you.
Yeah, that's okay. I work in a movie theater, so. But this has been fun. I enjoyed this. This has been the longest episode of Tim and Maggie Talk Movies, but it was really fun. I love talking Avengers. This is going to be the last time that we're going to do like an Avengers spoiler talk about these characters like this. So I'm glad we did this. This was fun. Thank you to Cody and to Kane and to Robert. Not to Robert because he doesn't like Iron Man.
Nah, yeah, fuck me.
Yeah, so thank you guys for coming on. This has been really, really great. If you guys want to plug anything, Kane, where can the good people find you?
You can find me across the internet at K97 with the 97 drum and normal, so it's XCVII. You can also find us at Multiplex Entertainment, where we do a bunch of content. And Tim is a big factor, Robert's a big factor, Cody's a huge factor, and Maggie will eventually get there. And finally, my favorite thing about the movie that I completely forgot to mean is when we see Korg, he's wearing a pineapple shirt, which is a shout out to Taika Waititi. I love that. I like.
Hey boys! Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, well, good here, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. I will. Okay, Cody, where can they find you?
Multiplex. You can find me backing Maggie as she kicks the shit out of Michael in fandom and into the tournament. So, and I'm really close to fucking trading Robert away for a prize cow and putting Maggie in his place because so far way better than the other one.
All right, and Robert Parker, where can
you can find me personally on Twitter and Letterboxd at RBRTPRKR98. That's my first last name of Auspice. If you have any death threats about this episode, anything we got wrong, you can send them all on Twitter to @MultiplexYT or at Caleb Coho, one of the two. It's your choice. You can find me as the Full Metal Geek Singles Champion over at Full Metal Trivia, the Fandom Fight Singles Champion, Multiplex Entertainment, and the newly crowned Fandom Fights Team Champions, myself and Tim Bracala over at Multiplex Entertainment.
Finally.
I don't even say that.
Maggie, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on the Twitters and I'm on the letterboxes at May24Maggie, but it's MAE24 MATGIE.
And you can find me on Letterboxd, Twitter, all of the things at Tim Loves Movies. Obviously here on the Tim Loves Movies YouTube channel where me and Maggie do movie reviews. Sometimes she's with me, sometimes she's not, but we always are here together on Tim and Maggie Talk Movies where we talk about everything under the sun. So if there's something you guys want to see us talk about, let us know. We'd be happy to. We were going to do a very special episode for like Dumbo like 2 months ago, but then that went down the shitter and we just talk about Avengers things. So please give us ideas to talk about. We love talking movies. That's why we're here. So thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, have a good one.